Imagine this. You have just given birth to your second child on your farm home in California when a wildfire alert comes and you are forced to evacuate your home. You have to pick up and move all of your goats and your whole family to a place you've never been to before, a land unknown. Unbeknownst to you, that place becomes your dream home with 24 acres of wood and a pond for your children to play in. Then one day you get the call. Your land is to be surveyed for a 42-inch natural gas liquids pipeline. It will run the length of your property and cut through the water that your children play in. This is the exact experience of Alyssa Portaro, the founder and executive director of Habitat Recovery Project, and the topic of today's episode of Gulf Rising.
Gonna first do this direct action song. The people gonna rise like the water.
The people gonna rise like the water.
We gonna face this crisis now.
We're gonna face this crisis now.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter.
Saying keep it in the ground.
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 The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now.
You're listening to Gulf Rising. I'm your host, Misha Mayer, and this episode is brought to you by the Habitat Recovery Project.
When I first heard, it was kind of a knife into the stomach. When you buy your dream property and home and love that space and place becomes a part of identity and safety and joy.
This is Alyssa Portaro, and for the past year and a half, she has had to come to terms with the fact that her home may be subject to giant construction for a huge pipeline that would run across the state of Texas and empty out into Lake Charles, Louisiana.
I got a call last May from a number I didn't recognize, and I answered it, and they said, "Hello, this is the contractors calling on behalf of De La Pipeline to speak with Alyssa Portaro." And I thought, oops, did I get myself in trouble with these industrial companies who we have been in opposition to? I haven't heard of this one. And they said, "We're calling to see if we could come do a survey on your land." I said, "What?" They're like, "Yes, ma'am, your property is along the route of our proposed pipeline." And I was just in shock.
So what does it actually mean to have a pipeline coming through your backyard?
This is major infrastructure. This isn't a small pipeline. This is a 42-inch pipeline. And if you go online and look up pictures from our friends who were impacted by Mountain Valley Pipeline, it is massive construction.
And what's at stake?
Proposed to go through the corner of our property about 200 feet behind our home through the moat that my livestock drink out of and my kids play in every day, and through the livestock pens of some of our animals on the farm. It would also be running about a half-mile parallel to our property line beyond this section close to our home into our forest, where we have many trees that act as a hurricane barrier. And so those would have to be removed for the easements and safety zones necessary to construct the pipeline.
But a pipeline coming through the property would be more than just construction and tearing down trees, as if habitat loss was not directly opposed to the mission statement of Habitat Recovery Project. The Habitat Recovery Project headquarters is bustling with programs and community engagement and involvement.
Our property is our home. It's also headquarters to our nonprofit, where we run programs like our bioconstruction workshop. It also is home to our nature school group, and we do many gatherings here. It's a place that is important to community, where we come together and sit around the dinner table, oftentimes with more than 20 people. It's also a public campground on our land.
Habitat Recovery Project has also put a ton of time in rehabilitating this land.
Our sanctuary is a little oasis corner of the swamp where we have 24 acres, and it's quite beautiful. It's certified wildlife habitat. We are a certified bee sanctuary. We farm using organic practices. And so we've worked to regenerate this land over the last 3 years, clean it up, plant native species, cultivate it.
Alyssa worries that not only will the good work of Habitat Recovery Project be disrupted, but her family's health could be put at risk as well.
As a family, I have a precancer diagnosis right now that has been staying in check over the last year since receiving that news. And my son has chronic pulmonary issues. I worry about the construction debris and the sedimentation that goes into the air from that kind of digging, impacting both of our health.
The environmental impacts of construction also have worried Alyssa.
I worry about its impacts on our water. We have a well for our water, and our livestock drink out of our natural water sources, and so that is a concern. I worry about the integrity of my soil as a farmer.
Years of construction would be extremely disruptive.
Having a year or so of many different construction crews coming through my yard, not just the people, but also the light pollution, the noise pollution impacting our lives.
In some extreme cases, like one in LaPorte, Texas in 2024, natural gas liquid pipelines can even explode.
This pipeline is set to have a half-mile blast radius. And as I said, it's 200 feet from my home.
A year ago, on September 16th of 2024, a 20-inch NGL pipeline, that's natural gas liquids, experienced a fire at a valve station in LaPorte, Texas. If you saw the videos or the pictures, that fire looked like it was nearly 20 feet in the air. If that was a 20-inch pipeline, can you imagine what a 42-inch pipeline explosion could look like? A half-mile blast radius is enough to scare anyone, especially someone with small kids, animals, and a ton to lose. How could anyone feel anything but discouraged staring down the barrel of all of this?
Okay, how do I turn this into a blessing?
When we come back on Gulf Rising.
You should know better than to wait so long. Who said the world will be here right after you're gone? You should know better than to take so long. Better make up your mind or watch it all be gone. Ding, ding, ding. Grow, mama, grow, grow, mama, grow. 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 Now the time has come to help set things right. Let's make it worth our while. Now our time has come to make some things right. Raising empires, raising empires. Grow, mama, grow, grow, mama, grow. 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 Grow, mama, grow, mama, grow, grow, mama, grow. Grow, mama, grow, grow, mama, grow. Wake up, mama, tell me what's on your mind. No, you heard them calling. Wake up, mama, tell me what's on your mind. Oh, Mama, tell me what's on your mind. Tell me what's on your mind. Wake up, Mama, tell me what's on your mind.
This episode of Gulf Rising is brought to you by the Habitat Recovery Project. Habitat Recovery Project is a community-focused conservation movement dedicated to restoring, generating, and preserving ecological habitats in existing and proposed contaminated communities through supporting and benefiting the people and emerging grassroots initiatives that reside within them. Habitat Recovery Project's Executive Director, Alyssa Portaro, is facing down a 42-inch natural gas liquids pipeline coming through her home and headquarters of her business. Luckily, this isn't her first experience with pipelines.
I was the youngest appointed environmental commissioner on the New Jersey Association of Environmental Commissioners, which was an appointed political seat in my town, where the Tennessee gas pipeline came through our wetlands and mountains in the Appalachians. The Tennessee gas pipeline goes from up there in New Jersey in the Northeast all the way down to here in Southwest Louisiana. And at the time of doing that, I never thought I'd find myself down here at the end of it.
Some things in life feel kismet, like you were given all the tools you needed to face the challenges that you face today. Maybe her experience with this pipeline is just what she needs.
From a habitat perspective, that experience really shapes my point of view on the potential harm that can happen to ecosystems through these projects beyond the social and community impacts.
I'm curious, what are the possible potential environmental impacts, habitat impacts, from an already laid natural gas liquids pipeline?
It went through 3 of our main wetlands, and they said that it would not exceed 125 degrees Fahrenheit while getting transported. And we went out as a group called the New Jersey Pipeline Walkers in our community and saw that there was 2 feet of snow on the ground and then green grass over this pipe and 2 feet of snow on the other side, and took temperature readings, and the community found through their citizen science that it was above the agreed upon and permitted temperature.
What is the impact of a hotter than acceptable pipeline? I love green grass.
And with that being in the wetlands, we were doing work on the Great Amphibian Migration Project every year and taking students out and community members to go do species assessments during the last 3 rains of fall and first 3 rains of spring, identifying frogs and salamanders and helping them cross the road safely during their migration.
I swear I heard about this project in Braiding Sweetgrass. If you haven't read or listened to Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, listen to it directly after this episode, and then come back to this podcast. This is not paid advertising. That work is simply a masterpiece. Now that that's out of the way, we have a super hot pipeline in the marshes and frogs that have to cross the road, like Frogger. What did this hot pipeline do?
And so we had taken a look, and many of the amphibians and reptiles that live in our ecosystem, their sex depends on temperature. So we had all female frogs, and that impacted the entire ecosystem's food chain, like the bald eagles that were endangered at the time and depend on these species for food. And if they are not able to populate in their natural ways, that ripple effect is huge.
Whoa, I did not see that coming. It seems like pipelines can have all sorts of unexpected consequences.
The heavy equipment that was being moved across states, across ecosystems, there was a lot of stowaway passengers like bug species that then became invasive in the new habitats that they brought the equipment to.
What do we as environmental stewards do?
I think this is an opportunity that we can leverage to push more environmental awareness, more ecological education, and leverage that to stop a pipelines.
Awareness is key to a harmonious environment, no matter what you're up against or what you're working for. So it makes sense.
Down here in Louisiana, the Audubon Institute bird watchers have been some of the most effective people to shut down projects by identifying native endangered birds on proposed sites. So then more environmental assessment or protections are needed.
So in New Jersey, there was an issue with the bald eagle not being able to eat the frogs, and the bald eagle was endangered. What endangered birds may live on this pipeline? When we come back on Gulf Rising.
the party creep long into the night and then staying so late. All we folks them together for a fit, no it ain't nothing new. To my people, my culture, my homeland, you know that I'll always stay true. So Louisiana is my own. With my mind I dream, you know my thoughts always roll back. Louisiana is our own. Anywhere we go, you know we're sure to make it known. Stay untrue to my Cajun cultures, I do to your man oath to my ancestry. Check the sight them around and all the beauties everywhere naturally that you see. Tout le monde a différent, mais elle n'a pas changé. And the reason that me said, you know, that's what my heart have to say, yeah. Louisiana is my own. With my mind I dream, you know my thoughts always roll back. Louisiana is our own. Anywhere we go, you know we're sure to make it known.
When you hear a 42-inch pipeline may come through your backyard and ruin your life and all of the things that you love, you start getting creative. That's what Executive Director of Habitat Recovery Project, Alyssa Portaro, is doing right now.
We've come up with an idea to campaign about endangered species and highlighted the cockaded woodpecker as our mascot for this project.
The red cockaded woodpecker is a small endangered bird that is black and white with white cheeks, and the males have a tiny, really hard to see red streak, which is the cockade. It lives in old longleaf pine forests. These species are endangered due to loss of longleaf pine. In fact, because the longleaf pine is also endangered, there is a longleaf pine initiative by the USDA that both helps maintain existing longleaf pine forests and sponsors the planting of longleaf pine trees. The Habitat Recovery Project works closely with the USDA office in Louisiana on programs just such as these and loves their acreage of trees.
We love to celebrate our natural superstars of our living world, and we were able to have a Forest Service agent come out to our farm to see if we could get one of our larger trees on the champion tree list of Louisiana. And although she did not make the state list, she became the largest beech tree in the parish.
So big trees and endangered birds are both good things to look out for when you are trying to stop a pipeline from destroying land that you love.
So we encourage people to get to know their natural resources in their backyards and in their community along the route. It goes through a lot of public lands. The public can go to these places that go by schools, go near national forests, and help their neighbors and help their community and help their parks be fortified too.
Only a tiny bit of this pipeline goes through Louisiana. The rest stretches across the expanse of the Permian Basin in Texas. This woodpecker doesn't really apply there. What are they doing? What is this pipeline proposed to go through over there?
Having one-on-one conversations with people in Texas who were directly impacted by this pipeline and had really meaningful conversations with people who had monarch butterfly migration happening through their yard, who just retired to their homes, people who have Native American artifacts and infrastructure on their yards.
Ooh, historical significance. I know there was a recent win in Louisiana where Bryce St. James was able to challenge the build of Formosa Plastics due to burial grounds being found on the site.
We have 24 acres, and they dug 3 6-inch by 6-inch holes that were maybe 6 inches deep as well to look for any potential artifacts like arrowheads. I don't know how many square inches that is, but less than 2 square feet of land on our 24 acres to make the determination of whether there is any culturally significant geological findings.
One of my recurring questions on this podcast is, who regulates this?
Most of these agencies that accept comments on projects like De La Pipeline, they're based in Washington, D.C. And these projects commission environmental impact statements by third-party agents that they are paying. So it is not objective. And so much of the critical information in community needs to come from community through these comments to the agencies.
Something that I have learned over the past year and a half is that you can gripe on social media, you can make podcasts, you can release press releases, but the thing that will get government agencies and big corporations to move is submitting an official public comment.
There is a gap there. Many people aren't aware when these public comment periods are open, don't know how to navigate these bureaucratic portals in order to submit the comment. And so as an organization, we've been helping landowners and community members and renters along the pipeline engage in that process.
When we come back, we sit down with the executive director of Bold Alliance, Jane Kleeb. She established the organization in 2010 to unite rural and urban communities in Nebraska to combat the proposed Keystone XL pipeline. Her efforts led to the formation of the Bold Alliance, a network of grassroots coalitions dedicated to protecting land and water rights across rural America. Kleeb is also recognized for her leadership in organizing the Cowboy and Indian Alliance, a coalition of farmers, ranchers, indigenous leaders, and climate advocates that successfully opposed the pipeline. The Keystone XL pipeline was extremely emotional and controversial. The land cried out, as did the people. What you are about to hear is a very raw, very real piece of art that came from the Keystone XL resistance. This is Oil for Blood by Frank Wong.
Everything's red. All red, everything. Everything's red. All red, everything. Everything's red. Everything's red. 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 Dead. Red. Dead. Red. First off, I send love to Lupe for giving us hope in this La Côte d'Azur. All red, everything, Red Nation rising. Revising our story, they're televising. Child of the plains, I see 2020. Poverty, porn, TV, pimp us for money. Tell Diane Sawyer, I am a warrior. Give me your camera, send pal to your lawyer. Free all my people, get them out of prison. Take them to Sundance, show them how we're living. Give youth an outlet, disadvantaged prodigies. Feed these Republicans all like commodities. Put them on the reds from the day they're born. They won't survive cause their cancer is airborne. Put them in our schools, put them in our shoes. Take away their money and give them our blues. Red, make everything red. Words of my ancestors up in my head. Food for thought, our kids underfed. Your oil is mud, they want the earth dead. Oil for blood, oil for blood. Making you rich, you soil my love. Oil for blood, oil for blood. My mother is clean, that oil is mud. Keystone, everything's red. Pipeline, now everything's dead. Keystone, everything's red. Pipeline, now everything's dead. Everything's red, everything's red. Red, 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 dead. Red, dead. Red. I can't afford to leave the reds. Government has got me trapped. The leadership need a tip, and most my tribal leaders whack. They don't want to hear that. They just want to chill. I'm sick. I'll go to IHS and get a pill. For real? Like a song without a title. Feel forgotten. Like slaves picking the kind. Forever tribal with no connection to the Bible. Blind people writing. Sometimes I'm suicidal. Feeling like no exit. Generation X shit. Text messaging sex. Will I connect with technology? Get this world to acknowledge me. My ancestors study numbers and astrology. Like philosophy, keep them haters off of me. Keystone XL, you smell like an atrocity. To my home and my ancestors, I'm loyal. Build that pipeline and I'm burning down your oil. Oil for blood, making you rich, you soil my love. Oil for blood, my mother is clean, that oil is mud. Keystone, everything's red. Pipeline, now everything's dead. Keystone, everything's red. Pipeline, now everything's dead. Everything's red, everything's red. Red, 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 dead. Red, dead. Red.
Welcome back to Gulf Rising. I'm your host, Misha Mayer. The movement against the Keystone XL pipeline became a national movement where many people had many reasons to stand in opposition to this pipeline's path. For the indigenous, it represented a long line of broken treaties with the United States. It was a threat to sacred sites and a threat to clean water. For cattle ranchers, it threatened their livestock, their homes, and their businesses. With so much at stake and such different reasons, these unlikely allies stood united against a common enemy, the black snake carrying blood of the mother, the proposed Keystone XL pipeline. We sit down now to talk to Jane Kleeb, founder of the Bold Alliance, about what it takes to organize a national movement against a pipeline.
We worked with farmers, ranchers, and tribes, as well as environmentalists, to really keep us focused on the shared goal. And it was a 10-year fight with lots of ups and downs, but we stopped the Keystone Pipeline 3 times.
It is my understanding that most people don't go looking to fight a pipeline. The pipeline comes to them. So how did it come to Jane?
My journey kind of in the climate movement and fighting pipelines got started with Keystone XL. I really wasn't a climate or an environmental advocate at the time. I was doing a lot of issue organizing around healthcare, but my husband's in the cattle business. So farmers and ranchers started calling me because they knew I was political. And they were like, can you do something about this pipeline? They're threatening eminent domain, which for folks that don't know, basically the government sometimes takes houses by eminent domain for public purposes like roads, but private corporations are increasingly using it to line their own pockets.
I'll give you a minute so you can let that one soak in. In the United States, eminent domain is supposed to only be if we absolutely need your land for the highway. And it historically has been used to decimate Black communities, the indigenous and the underserved, with big projects. And the veil between our government and giant corporations is becoming even thinner as large operations for private gain are being given the power of eminent domain.
And so farmers and ranchers were really angry that eminent domain was going to be used for private gain, not public good. And they knew that there was all these risks if a tar sands pipeline had spilled. At the time, we didn't even know what tar sands was.
Tar sands are a mixture of sand, clay, water, and of course, a heavy crude oil called bitumen, which must be mined or steamed out of the ground. These pipelines are dangerous because producing and transporting tar sands creates high greenhouse gas emissions. And if they're spilled, heavy oil sinks in the water and is impossible to clear up. And that's kind of the thing with pipelines, and something that I really want to drive home before we come back to organizing against them, is that the things that they carry inside of them are not good for the land, the water, or the air. And what is inside a pipeline can poison all of those things and the people on those lands with those waters breathing that air. I want you to hear from Paula, who didn't stop a pipeline, who didn't know there was a pipeline.
This oil and gas stuff is nothing to play with. It's nothing to play with. Like your children, you don't even know all the things that can happen if it's in your water. If it's we don't know, and it could be harming other people.
Paula and her family were contacted about a different pipeline called the Dela Express Pipeline. That's right, the same one that is planned to go through Alyssa's farm, by a group called Oilfield Witness, who are able to see gas that is otherwise naked to the human eye through a special camera called the optical gas imaging camera. Through these lenses, they travel around the United States, showing people where there are environmental poisons that they may not know about otherwise.
They came out, they looked around, and they saw pipeline gas seeping from the ground, hissing. They found so many different hazards, and they were like, you need to call TCEQ immediately. And as soon as we did, they found exactly what they were saying that was going on. And that's the reason why we were so sick.
If you're curious about oil and gas projects in your neighborhood, you can check the Frack Tracker website.
My 9-year-old son started having seizures. We ended up having to go to the emergency room because Danette's chest was tightening. She was like feeling she's going to have a heart attack. We went to the emergency room, all 4 of us, and they did blood gases on us, and they found the most devastating thing. They were like, you cannot go back home. You have more toxins than oxygen in your bloodstream. If you go home, you will not wake up. You may not wake up. Like, that is like a very high possibility that you will not wake up. I can't tell you you can't go home, but I'm just telling you, please, like, find somewhere else to go. So TCEQ told us that it could take possibly 3 years for them to clean up whatever is going on. So we didn't have 3 years. What do? We stayed in a hotel. We got back in touch with Miguel and Jay, and we stayed in a hotel for about a month. Yeah, it was a month. And then we ended up getting a house in Austin where we can get the proper medical care that we need to detox our lungs, and especially the oxygen that we need to detox our systems. My little boy with seizures, his seizures are not as bad. It's just things are looking up for us. We want to go back. We would love to go back home, but if they put in that pipeline, there's no way we're going to be able to go back. We cannot put our family, anybody in that position.
Paula and her family were lucky, and there are groups out there ready to support people on pipeline routes. When we come back, we will hear more about Jane's experience with the Keystone Pipeline and how Bold Alliance created a template for supporting people who live on pipeline routes.
You can buy a house, but you can't buy a home. You can be surrounded and still be alone. Oh, Lord. You be living the life, but not living the dream. Mama said, boy, don't you be no dummy. Everybody chasing that big, big money. You can buy a horse, don't mean you can ride. And you can buy a plane, but that don't make you fly. Oh, Lord. You be living the life, but not living the dream. I love you. Grandmama said, boy, don't you be no dummy. Everybody chasing that big, big money. Might as well live for something you can be. Might as well live for something real. Might as well live for something you can be. Hey, might as well live for something real. You can't take it with you 'cause it wasn't nothing with you before. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, same old, same old, same old thing. Big money. You can buy a song, don't mean you can sing. And you could win it all and still lose everything. Huh. Whoa! Mama said, boy, don't you be no dummy. Everybody chasing that big, big money. Don't be a knucklehead, a bobblehead dummy. Everybody chasing that big, big money. Might as well live for something you can be. Hey! Might as well live for something real.
Welcome back to Gulf Rising, where we have learned a few key things this episode. We have learned that pipelines are massive projects that have many people opposed to them. We know that one spill can decimate a land, water, and air, and that the people around them's health is at risk. We know that staring down a 42-inch pipeline is extremely scary, and we know that victory is possible if we all come together. So I asked Jane, how do we all come together?
We built a unique model of bringing together unlikely alliances of folks who may not have the same political background or even political ideology, but we all wanted to protect the land and water. And so we worked with farmers, ranchers, and tribes, as well as environmentalists, to really keep us focused on the shared goal. And it was a 10-year fight with lots of ups and downs, but we stopped the Keystone Pipeline 3 times. It's interesting because the tribes, they have a deep, obviously, connection to the land, and it is very spiritual. It's part of their culture. They also have a deep, fierce protection of their sovereign rights, which for farmers and ranchers, they would say property rights. For tribes, they often say sovereign rights. So there is different language, but there's the common ground where they both want to protect the land and make sure that the land is being protected by people who love it. And it took a lot of time. There were a lot of cultural barriers, but I came from an organizing background where you focus on the people who would be most impacted, most hurt by a potential project, piece of legislation that is the threat on the table. And then you work through those differences together through action. We didn't put the landowners and tribal folks in a room and do a cultural identity white paper kind of theory of change workshop. That would have really fallen on deaf ears. We did actions together.
Fighting a pipeline is like visceral trust-building, team-building activities. This makes sense. So what kind of actions do you do? Are these fun? Are they interesting? Are they all really scary?
We went to Washington, D.C. and got arrested together. We did a Reject and Protect 10-day encampment on the National Mall where we put up teepees and rode horses together throughout Washington, D.C. We planted Ponca sacred corn as a form of medicine in the pipeline route, and then that farmer eventually deeded that land back to the Ponca tribe, which was a legal aspect then for us because the State Department then had to recognize that they were crossing formal tribal land, which they had not recognized even though they were in other areas of the pipeline route. So I found that the differences of language or approach started to go away when we were doing actions together and building trust. So the actions built trust, which made our bonds stronger. So then when Keystone XL or their lobbyists tried to divide us, use things like landowners versus tribes, it didn't work because we all felt a sense of responsibility for each other.
Jane is making solidarity actions feel pretty fun. There was one that I found to be especially resonant, though.
Can't have any permanent structures inside the pipeline route. So what we did is it was a form of civil disobedience for us. It was a non-violent form of civil disobedience. We decided to build a barn, which is obviously a symbol of rural culture in our state, not just for farmers and ranchers, but for tribal folks too. That we put solar on top and we put a smaller windmill in the front. And then we did a garden of different indigenous plants. It was a direct communication, not a threat, but a direct promise to the president that we are building a symbol of our clean energy future, an energy that doesn't pollute our land and water, and a symbol of our rural culture. And if you approve this dirty pipeline that would threaten all of that, you will literally have to tear down this barn. And not only was it a very clear symbol to President Obama and a message to President Obama because he was the ultimate decision maker, but it was a way, again, for us to form community. We built the barn totally together, right? A business didn't come in and build the barn. We built the barn. We raised the barn in the traditional way. We did it all with hands. Little kids were involved in painting signs. And it was just a beautiful, 3-week process where we built a barn together.
This reminds me of an action that I know that Habitat Recovery Project is taking. And I'll come back to that later, but what I really want to know from Jane is what makes a campaign against a pipeline successful? How does one successfully stop a pipeline?
I think there wasn't one action that we did that stopped the pipeline. It was a collective of small and large actions along those 10 years. And we just never stopped. Like whether it was building the barn or we built other solar arrays on frames inside the pipeline route, we planted trees along the pipeline route. We carved pumpkins 2 times where we built, where we carved messages inside the pumpkins for each letter to a message to President Obama. So, I think people just have to remember that it's constant action in order to show the opposition that you're not stopping at anything to protect the land and water.
There's gotta be some hope. There's gotta be some hope. There's gotta be some way for you to send your dogs away and to leave the land alone. It's gotta be a crime somewhere in your heart you'll find. We're fighting for our right to keep the future bright and protect the ones we love. Our sisters and our brothers, we are camping out for each other. We are stronger when we band together, and we're standing up for the water. Don't poison the future away. You've got a soul. Mother Earth protects us all. If you treat her with disrespect, then what message have you left for your children and their home? Our sisters and our brothers, we are camping out for each other. We are stronger when we band together, and we're standing up for the water. Don't poison the future away. How can you take and not appreciate the soil? Don't let this black snake contaminate our drinking water. This is for our sons and daughters. And the river is our sisters and our brothers. We are camping out for each other. We are stronger when we band together, and we're standing up for the water. Don't poison the future away.
If you find yourself in the path of a pipeline, what do you do? What are the resources available?
How do I leverage this experience for the greater good? How can I use my experience as a nonprofit director and my prior experience with pipelines in New Jersey, watch guarding as a community, to be able to either shut this project down and stop it, or ensure better safety for anybody else like myself along the way?
a rally is not going to put their fears at rest. You have to have real legal assistance, which is what BOLD really created when we stopped Keystone XL, is we created the easement action team.
You may be like me and asking yourself, what's an easement? An easement is a sum of money offered to people along industrial build-out to make it easier to accept.
We have a network of probably 12 lawyers across the country who we then deploy into different fights. So, landowners join that. So then when the pipeline company comes knocking on the door, they can say, I do not want to talk to you. I'm represented by legal counsel. They don't get bullied. They don't get divided. And then in worst case scenario, if we can't stop a pipeline, we never want to turn to a community and say, well, we gave it our best try. We want to be able to have a B, C, and D plan. So the legal counsel is also there if we exhaust all legal measures to make sure that landowners or the folks in the route get the best easement terms so they're protected as much as possible. We've had to do that on one pipeline route, but we've stopped 6 other pipelines throughout the country.
To stop a pipeline, you absolutely need legal strategies. You need creative strategies. You need environmental strategies. You need heartfelt strategies. It's going to take everyone.
The way that you bring people together has to come from the people on the ground. And I obviously, and folks on the Keystone XL pipeline, can share our stories and share some creative ideas that we did. But I really honor and respect the culture here, which is very different and beautiful. And I know that a lot of good creative ideas are going to come from you all.
One of those creative ideas was birthed last November on Alyssa's 24-acre farm sanctuary. Over the 2 weeks of Thanksgiving, we organized over 60 people to come lay hands on what is becoming Southwest Louisiana's Earth Church. Standing next to the proposed pipeline route is a sanctuary and classroom made by the hands on the land, completely free of petrochemicals and plastics. This is our monument to Gaia, our promise for clean air, clean earth, and clean water, and the place that we gather. It was created using a couple of different methods, one being natural cob, which is straw, sand, and clay, and the other being an indigenous Houma Nation way of building, which is called busiage, and instead of straw, it uses Spanish moss to bind the sand and the clay together to create bricks. We had people of all different walks of life, from 4 to 80, from able-bodied to those in wheelchairs, from Pennsylvania to New York, to Washington, to Texas and Louisiana, and everywhere in between. We had people who had planted Ponca sacred corn in front of the Keystone XL pipeline come to Alyssa's farm, to the Habitat Recovery Project headquarters, and help us build this natural building. This year, we are so pleased that we have the opportunity to finish this building in November. Habitat Recovery Project will be hosting its 2nd annual bioconstruction workshop, where attendees can come and learn how to build structures with the nature that surrounds them. We believe that the earth is sacred and should be treated as such. We believe in holding a space for education, and we are excited, like Jane's Barn, to have this community building exercise where we build the future that we want to see. If you are excited and inspired, follow Habitat Recovery Project on Instagram, visit them at habitatrecovery.org, and reach out. Stay in touch. We look forward to hosting you. This has been another episode of Gulf Rising. I'm your host, Misha Mayer. The songs you heard in this episode are Mama Grow by Dominique Fils-Aimé, Louisiana My Home by Ashes of Babylon, John Baptiste's newest single, Big Money, In the River, a protest song by Ray Zaragoza. To close out this episode, I would like to play the honor song commemorating the Indigenous triumph over the Keystone XL pipeline. May it bring the fight against the De La XL pipeline all the same success.